This common bedtime habit may be raising your blood pressure overnight. You probably check your blood pressure during the day. Maybe your numbers look fine at your doctor's office. Maybe they even look normal when you check them at home. But what if your blood pressure is rising during the one time you're not watching it?
Every night, millions of adults go to sleep believing their heart is getting the rest it needs. Yet, for some seniors, a common bedtime habit may be putting extra strain on their blood vessels for hours while they sleep. The most surprising part is that many people never realize it's happening until they start noticing higher morning readings, unexplained fatigue, or other warning signs. What makes this so concerning is that most people don't even know it's happening.
Many seniors assume blood pressure problems only occur during the day, when stress, activity, or emotions are running high. But your body is still working while you sleep. In fact, nighttime is when your blood pressure should naturally fall, giving your heart and blood vessels a chance to recover. When that doesn't happen, it can place added stress on your cardiovascular system, night after night.
The problem is that certain evening habits can quietly interfere with this natural recovery process. And because you're asleep when it's happening, the signs are easy to miss. By the time you notice something is wrong, the habit may have been affecting your health for months or even years. In today's video, you'll discover the hidden cause that may be driving these overnight blood pressure changes, the warning signs many people overlook,
The common mistake that could be making the problem worse, and a simple adjustment that may help support healthier nighttime blood pressure. And before you assume this only affects other people, consider the story of a woman we'll call Margaret. She thought she was doing everything right, yet her blood pressure kept moving in the wrong direction. What she discovered changed the way she looked at her entire bedtime routine. To understand why this matters, let's look at what happened to Margaret.
Margaret was 71 years old and thought she was doing everything right. She took her blood pressure medication exactly as prescribed. She rarely missed an appointment with her doctor. She paid attention to what she ate and tried to stay active whenever she could. Like many people her age, she believed that if she followed the advice she was given, her blood pressure would stay under control. But something didn't make sense. Each morning, when she checked her blood pressure at home, the numbers seemed a little higher than expected.
Not dangerously high, but high enough to make her uneasy. At first, she brushed it off. Everyone has an occasional bad reading, she told herself. Then the pattern continued. Week after week, her morning readings stayed elevated. Some days they were only slightly higher. Other days, they made her wonder whether her medication was still working. What bothered her even more was how she felt when she woke up.
Margaret believed she was sleeping through the night without problems. She wasn't staying up late or spending hours tossing and turning. Yet most mornings she woke feeling tired, as if her body hadn't fully rested. By mid-morning, she often felt drained of energy. Her doctor reviewed her medications, asked about her diet, and checked for other common causes. Still, nothing seemed out of place.
That left Margaret with one frustrating question. If she was doing everything she was supposed to do, why were her blood pressure readings moving in the wrong direction? The more she thought about it, the more confused she became. The problem didn't seem to be happening during the day. In fact, many of her daytime readings looked fairly normal. So when was her blood pressure rising?
What Margaret eventually discovered surprised her. The real problem wasn't showing up while she was awake and paying attention. It was happening during the hours she assumed her body was resting. The answer wasn't in her medication cabinet. It was hiding in her nightly routine. What Margaret discovered starts with something most people have never heard of. While you're asleep, your body is supposed to enter a recovery mode.
Your muscles relax. Your breathing slows. During a healthy sleep cycle, your blood pressure naturally drops. Doctors sometimes call this nighttime dipping. Think of it as your heart's chance to work a little less. After spending the entire day pumping blood through your body, your heart finally gets a period of lighter work. Your blood vessels also get a chance to relax. But what if that natural drop never happened?
For some people, Certain bedtime habits quietly interfere with this natural process. They may seem harmless. In fact, many are part of everyday routines that millions of people follow without a second thought. Yet instead of allowing blood pressure to fall during the night, these habits can keep the body more active than it should be. The result is something many people never suspect. While they believe they are resting peacefully, their cardiovascular system may still be working overtime.
Their heart continues pushing against resistance. Their blood vessels remain tighter than normal. Hour after hour, throughout the night, this extra workload can continue without causing any obvious symptoms. That is what makes the problem so easy to miss. You don't feel your blood pressure rising while you're asleep. There is no alarm clock that goes off. There is no warning light that suddenly appears. Instead, the clues often show up later.
You wake up tired, even after spending enough hours in bed. Your morning blood pressure reading is higher than expected. You feel less refreshed than you used to. Over time, these small signs begin to form a pattern. That pattern was beginning to appear in Margaret's life. She assumed sleep was helping her recover, but without realizing it, something in her evening routine may have been preventing her body from getting the nighttime reset.
And once she understood what was happening, her rising morning readings finally started to make sense. What surprised her even more was discovering how many other people were dealing with the exact same issue without knowing it. Margaret isn't the only one experiencing this. What happened to her may sound unusual, but it is far more common than most people realize. Many adults over the age of 50 assume their daytime blood pressure tells the whole story.
The problem is that daytime readings don't always tell the full story. For some people, blood pressure behaves very differently after they fall asleep. In fact, many adults experience elevated blood pressure during the night without ever knowing it. Because they are asleep when it happens, there are usually no obvious warning signs. They wake up, go about their day, and never suspect their heart has been working harder while they slept. This hidden pattern can continue for months or even years. That is one reason doctors often pay close attention to morning blood pressure readings. Those early numbers can sometimes provide important clues about what may have been happening overnight. Have you ever checked your blood pressure shortly after waking up and wondered why it seemed higher than expected? Many people blame stress, poor sleep, or even a faulty monitor. Sometimes that's true, but not always. In some cases, that higher reading may point to something that happened while your body was supposed to be recovering. That possibility is what makes nighttime blood pressure changes so important. Your heart and blood vessels are designed to benefit from a period of rest during sleep. When that recovery process is disrupted night after night, your cardiovascular system may not get the break it needs to stay healthy and work efficiently. Most people never connect this to their evening habits. They focus on what they eat during the day. They think about exercise, medications, and doctor visits. All of those things matter. Yet they may completely overlook what happens during the final hours before bedtime. Margaret certainly did. Like many people, she believed her bedtime routine was harmless because it felt completely normal. It was simply something she had done for years. And that may be the biggest reason this problem affects so many people. The habits that interfere with healthy nighttime blood pressure are often the same habits people consider part of a relaxing evening. So why do so many people unknowingly make this mistake every night? The surprising thing about many nighttime blood pressure problems is that they are often connected to habits people consider completely normal. Take late-night meals, for example. After a long day, it can feel comforting to enjoy a large dinner or a heavy snack before bed. But when your body is still busy digesting food late into the evening, it may not settle into its normal recovery mode as easily. Instead of focusing fully on rest, your body still has extra work to do. That can make it harder for your blood pressure to naturally fall overnight. Then there is salt. Many popular evening snacks contain far more sodium than people realize. Chips, crackers, processed meats, canned soups, and many packaged foods can quietly add up.
Because these foods are often eaten while relaxing in front of the television, most people never think they could be affecting their blood pressure. Yet too much sodium late in the evening may make it harder for the body to maintain healthy blood pressure during sleep.
Another common habit is having alcohol before bed. Many people believe a drink helps them relax or fall asleep faster. What they may not notice is that their sleep quality can suffer later in the night. A person may spend enough hours in bed, but still wake up feeling less refreshed than expected. Over time, poor quality sleep may quietly affect the body's natural recovery process and overall heart health.
Technology can also play a role. The bright light from phones, tablets, and televisions may seem harmless, yet spending long periods looking at screens before bed can make it harder for your body to fully prepare for sleep. Many people stay awake longer than they intended because one video becomes another, or one television program turns into two. Before they realize it, they've delayed the rest their body needs each night.
Even the way you sleep matters. An uncomfortable sleeping position can lead to restless sleep, frequent awakenings, or discomfort that keeps your body from reaching deeper stages of rest. Some people don't even realize how often they change positions or briefly wake during the night. Those repeated interruptions may seem small, but together they can reduce the quality of your sleep and limit your body's ability to recover.
Perhaps the most overlooked issue of all is poor sleep itself. Many adults assume waking up tired is simply part of getting older. They ignore snoring, frequent bathroom trips, restless nights, or the feeling that they never wake up refreshed. Over time, these problems begin to feel normal, even when they may be affecting the body's ability to recover properly. Margaret recognized more than one of these habits in her own evening routine.
What shocked her was not that she had been doing something unusual. It was that she had been doing things millions of other people do every single night. But to understand why these habits matter, we need to look inside the body. To understand this, it helps to picture what your body is supposed to do during a healthy night of sleep. That's where the real story begins, and where everything starts to make sense.
Normally, as you drift off to sleep, your body begins shifting into recovery mode. Your heart slows down, your blood vessels relax, blood pressure gradually falls. This is one of the reasons sleep is so important for long-term heart health. But when certain habits interfere with that process, the body may stay more alert than it should. Instead of recovering, it continues working harder throughout the night.
One reason is stress hormones. Most people think of stress as something they feel during the day, but your body has its own internal stress response. When sleep is disrupted or the body remains overstimulated late into the evening, stress hormones can stay higher than normal. Instead of settling into deep recovery, your body behaves as though it still needs to stay alert. That makes it harder for blood pressure to naturally decrease overnight. As a result, your blood vessels may not relax as completely as they should. Think of them as flexible pathways carrying blood throughout your body. During restful sleep, they are supposed to loosen slightly, making it easier for blood to flow. When that relaxation doesn't happen, your heart must work harder to push blood where it needs to go. That extra effort may seem small at first, but it continues for hours while you sleep. But remember, we're talking about hours at a time. If your heart continues working harder throughout the night, your body's normal recovery process becomes less effective. You may spend 8 hours in bed, yet wake up feeling as though you never fully recharged. Sleep quality also plays a major role. Many people believe they're sleeping well simply because they remain in bed all night, but that's not always the case. Your body moves through several stages of sleep, and each stage serves an important purpose. When those stages are interrupted, your body's repair and recovery systems cannot work as efficiently. Another important factor is oxygen. During healthy sleep, oxygen levels usually remain steady. But for some people, breathing becomes less efficient during the night. Even small drops in oxygen can place extra demands on the cardiovascular system while you.
In response, your body may react in ways that keep your blood pressure from falling as it normally would. Put all these pieces together, and a clear pattern begins to emerge. Stress hormones remain elevated, blood vessels stay tighter, heart rate remains higher, recovery becomes less effective. Blood pressure stays above where it should be for much of the night. If this continues for months or even years, the consequences can become much more serious.
When a problem happens only once in a while, your body can usually recover. The real concern begins when the same pattern repeats night after night. Imagine asking your heart to do extra work while you sleep, not for one evening, but for months or even years. The effort may seem small on any single night, yet over time, those nights add up. That was the part Margaret had never considered. She focused on her daytime activities because that was when she felt in control. Yet some of the most important hours for heart recovery happen while we are asleep. When blood pressure stays higher than it should during those hours, the heart may lose part of the recovery period it depends on. The blood vessels can also feel the effects. Healthy blood vessels are designed to expand and relax as needed throughout the day and night.
But when blood vessels remain under extra pressure for long periods, they may become less flexible. That can make it harder for your cardiovascular system to work efficiently. The signs are not always dramatic. For many people, the first clues seem easy to dismiss. A dull headache after waking up, a feeling of tiredness that lasts throughout the morning, less energy for daily activities, needing more rest than usual.
Because these symptoms can have many causes, people often assume they are simply part of getting older. Margaret thought the same thing. She told herself she was in her 70s now. Of course she would feel more tired than she did 10 years earlier. But when the fatigue continued, despite getting what seemed like enough sleep, she started wondering if something else might be going on. That question turned out to be very important.
The longer nighttime blood pressure remains elevated, the more strain it may place on the cardiovascular system. Over time, this can affect not only how a person feels each morning, but also their overall quality of life. Simple daily activities may begin to feel more exhausting. Energy may become less reliable. The body may never feel fully refreshed. The good news is that identifying the problem is often the hardest part.
Once Margaret understood what was happening, she realized she didn't need a complicated solution. In fact, the change that made the biggest difference was much simpler than she expected. So what was the habit that kept showing up again and again? For Margaret, it was something she had never viewed as a problem. Almost every evening, she settled into her favorite chair to watch television while enjoying a late-night snack.
Sometimes it was a bowl of salty crackers. Other times it was processed meats, leftover dinner, or packaged foods she believed were harmless. She wasn't overeating, and she wasn't breaking any major health rules. The problem was the timing. Eating heavy meals or salty snacks too close to bedtime can make it harder for the body to fully shift into its nighttime recovery mode. Instead of resting, the body keeps working.
Instead of spending those hours focused on rest, the body may still be busy processing food and managing the effects of excess sodium. Once Margaret realized this, she began making small adjustments. She started finishing dinner earlier whenever possible. If she wanted a snack later in the evening, she chose lighter options instead of heavily salted foods. The changes were not dramatic, but they were consistent. And over time, those small changes began to make a difference.
She also paid closer attention to her bedtime routine. Rather than staying in front of bright screens until the moment she went to sleep, she gave herself time to unwind. She kept her bedroom cool, quiet, and comfortable. She also tried to go to bed at roughly the same time every night. None of these changes seemed extraordinary on their own, but together they created an environment that supported better sleep and better recovery.
Another change involved hydration. Many people either drink very little water in the evening or choose beverages that may interfere with sleep.
Margaret focused on staying properly hydrated throughout the day, so she wasn't trying to catch up late at night. Most importantly, she stopped ignoring the signals her body was giving her. When she noticed fatigue, restless sleep, or unusual morning blood pressure readings, she paid attention.
Instead of assuming those changes were simply part of aging, she discussed them with her healthcare provider. That conversation helped her better understand her personal risk factors and whether additional testing or monitoring might be useful. The lesson Margaret learned was surprisingly simple. Sometimes the biggest improvements come from habits we barely notice. Small choices, repeated every evening, can quietly shape what happens inside the body while we sleep.
And when those choices support healthy sleep and healthy recovery, the benefits can extend far beyond the bedroom. Now, imagine what could happen if you made these changes starting tonight. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning feeling a little different. Not dramatically different, just a little more rested than usual. You get out of bed and notice that familiar feeling of exhaustion isn't quite as strong. Your mind feels clearer and your body feels lighter. Now, imagine those small improvements continuing over the next few weeks. You wake up feeling refreshed more often. You begin looking forward to mornings instead of pushing through them. Tasks that once felt tiring become easier to manage. You have more energy for the people and activities that matter most to you. Then, one morning, you check your blood pressure. The numbers aren't perfect, but they are steadier, more predictable, and far less frustrating. For many people, that consistency brings something valuable that cannot be measured on a blood pressure monitor: peace of mind. When you understand the habits that affect your health, you stop feeling as though you're guessing. Instead of wondering why your readings change from one day to the next, you begin to see how your daily choices may be influencing the results. That sense of control can be incredibly powerful. It shifts your focus away from fear and toward action. Rather than worrying about what might happen in the future, you start making small decisions that support your health today. Margaret experienced that change herself. She didn't find a miracle cure. She didn't completely transform her life overnight. What she discovered was that a few simple adjustments to her evening routine helped her feel more confident about the direction she was heading.
And perhaps that's the most encouraging part of all. The habits that affect your health are often the same habits you have the power to change. Small improvements may seem insignificant at first, but when they are repeated night after night, they can add up to meaningful results over time. That's exactly what happened for Margaret. When she first noticed her blood pressure readings rising, she assumed the answer had to be complicated.
Maybe her medication needed to be changed. Maybe age was finally catching up with her. Maybe it was something completely outside her control. But in the end, the issue wasn't hiding in a prescription bottle. It was hiding in a habit she repeated almost every night without thinking about it. Once she understood that, everything began to make more sense. The goal was never perfection. It was awareness. By making a few simple changes to her evening routine, she gave her body a better chance to do what it was designed to do while she slept. That's an important lesson for all of us. Sometimes the health challenges we worry about most are connected to small daily habits we rarely notice. Taking a closer look at your own bedtime routine could reveal opportunities to support better sleep, steadier mornings, and greater confidence in your overall health. Tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself one simple question. Is there anything in my evening routine that might be working against me instead of helping me? The answer may surprise you. Small changes may not seem important at first, but over time, they can make a meaningful difference. The choices you make each evening don't just affect your sleep. They can also influence how you feel when you wake up the next morning. If you found this video helpful, share it with someone who checks their blood pressure regularly. You could help them discover a simple habit they never realized might be affecting their health. We'd also love to hear from you. What does your bedtime routine usually look like? Let us know in the comments below.
Your experience could encourage someone else to make a positive change in their own nightly routine.
For more simple tips to help you stay healthy, active, and informed as you age, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. In our next episode, we'll reveal another surprising nighttime habit that may quietly affect your heart health while you sleep. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.